Hi there, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome once again to Reading Aristotle's Politics. Today, we're still in book 7 of the Politics, which deals in the best regime. Today, we're looking at chapter 8. So let's continue a review of what this Aristotle's account of what is the best city in his attempt of the best city, book 7. And then later, book 7 and 8 more deals with education. But this is the best regime, right? This is his account of the best regime, or the regime we would pray for. So let's turn to chapter 8. Okay? In just as in other things constituted according to nature, those things without which the whole could not exist are not part of the constitution of the thing as a whole. Constitution of a thing as a whole. It is clear that those things must be regarded as part of the city that belongs to the city of necessity, nor any other community out of which there is constituted something single in a type. So again, we have this very interesting thing here in chapter 8. He opens up with things that are constituted among nature are those things without which the whole could not exist, are not parts of the constitution of the thing as a whole. It is clear that those things must not be regarded as part of the city that belongs to cities of necessity, nor of any other type of community, Carnoia, out of which there is constituted something of a single type. Right? This idea, okay, the natural city, right? This idea of just as other things constitute according to nature of those things without which the whole could not exist, right? In other words, they're part of the whole. In other words, they're essential to the whole, right? Um, um, not exist are not part of the constitution of a thing that are of the thing as a whole. Okay, so there's something that is necessary of it that's external towards it. Okay, in other words, it's not in it of itself; it's something outside of it, but it's important to it. Without it, it couldn't be. Also, right? It is clear that those things must not be regarded as part of the city that belongs to cities of necessity, nor of any other community out of which there is constituted something of a single type in type, right? For there should be one single thing that is both common and the same for all sharers, whether they have an equal or unequal partition in sustenance, for example, or amount of territory, or something else of this sort. So in other words, this idea of this is talking about what is a whole, what is understood to be the whole. That they should be that they should have whether they have equal and unequal portions of something, but they're still part of it. They get their sustenance from it, and they live together in it, right, to some degree. Anything else, they're part of it. This is the idea that they're constituted of a part of a thing. They're, and this is a very confusing chapter in that regard. This is why maybe you should look at another thing. Hold on. So what's being discussed here is that which is necessary and essential. Things that are what is necessary and essential to it and do it. Now, some things he's going to say that what they are external towards it. They're not really inherent to in that sense, but play it. But these should not count. Okay, so this is when one thing is something for the sake of which the other thing exists, and the other thing is for the sake of this, is nothing in common with the things except that one acts and the other receives. I mean, for example, as between any instrument or craftsman and work produced. There is nothing common between a house and a house builder, but the house builder's art for which it's the sake of the house. Okay, so therefore, this is what he's trying to hit and hint at about the question of between those which are by nature and those which are by art, like the creation. Now, this is 38 is about probably about the question of some. It's a tech. I bet it's a textual issue. For the sake of which is a technical term synonymous with end and final cause. So again, this is I think what's going on here is Aristotle is pointing to something about the question of things that we make things and how we do it, right? Tying to this, right? Let's see what this is. This is chapter 7, is correct? Yeah. Um, so then, for one thing is something for the sake of which other things exist. And another thing for which this is the thing of the artist, and the tools he makes and the resources he makes to do something, right? And this is how he continues it. The thing, it means for example, as between any instrument or the craftsman and the work produced, right? In other words, there is nothing in common between a house and the house builder, but the house builder's art is for which the sake of which is for the sake of the house. Hence, while cities need property, property is no part of the city. Okay, this is the point that the city is what people getting together. This idea. This is the bond that holds it. That the property is what these are. While hence cities need property, property is no part of the city. Many animate things are part of property, but the city is a community of similar persons for the sake of life that is best possible. So the polis in this is really, even though there's material aspects of it, those material aspects are kind of external to what it is. The political community or the community, the koinonia, the political koinonia, is will be the members who make it in their associations. Now there's going to be property towards it, and many of these things may be animate property. They're in it, but they're not it. They're not. They are. They're part of it in that they are what the city uses and operates out of, like the construction of the tools that they use for it. Tools, right? Tools that they do it, but they're not the city. He's saying the property is not this. The city is a community of similar persons for the sake of life that is best possible, right? Since happiness is the best thing, right? And this is the actualization of virtue in a certain complete practice of it. And since it happens that some persons are able to partake in it and others are able to do so only to a small degree or not at all, it is clear that this cause of there being several kinds and varieties of cities and the several sorts of regimes. So therefore, he is basically saying here in 39, again, this is back to book 1, question 6, 7, 8 about the best city happiness and the question of happiness in the best city. Um, in other words, this idea that actuation, virtual, and certain complete practice of it, right? That there's some people who are able to complete it, but some are only to a small degree, not at all. And this idea he's suggesting here that what really divides cities is the fact that the different degree of people who can be citizens, who participates in citizens, and that these will be the different kind, whether they are able to do it successfully or not. Right. This is the cause of there being several kinds and varieties of cities and several sorts of regimes. For it is through hunt. Okay. For it is through hunting for this in a different manner and by means of different things an individual create ways of life and regimes that differ, right? So in other words, in order to what survive, or to live, they what they're the question is they how they're going to be happy, how they're seeking all trying to seek the way the life to best be happy, and that because that is going to be differ, they're going to differ the ways of life. They're going to disagree about what way of life is best, what brings happiness, what way of life brings happiness. What is the way of life that brings happiness? That this is going to differ on that question, and that therefore that's going to lead to the different types of regimes in that sense, right? And the different type of cities. The different type of cities will emerge because of the different people that are there, the populations, and where they live together. They share a community together. They share a life together. They share their life together. These people share their life together. These people over here share their life together. All of them are trying to live well, but they differ on regarding the opinion about what is the best way of life. What is the best way of doing that? What is the way of the best to achieve happiness? And this is going to lead to different regimes in that sense. This is what he hints here. We must also investigate how many things there are without which a city could not exist. Okay. Uh, 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 okay. We must investigate how many things are without which a city could not exist. In other words, what is essential to the city? What is the things that are that that they could not exist without a city? In other words, they are the existence of a city is a precondition for their existence. What we speak of as being parts of the city would also be among those things which we must necessarily be present. Now, 40 is regarding this passage, right? Would be among those things, hence. In other words, which does not seem satisfactory. Newman's conjecture, presupposing the omission of deal, and that is much preferable to bracketing this. So, therefore, this is how they um, do that here, this passage here. In other words, we're going to speak of in other words, we're going to be looking at things that are not, without the city, they would not be, or unlikely to be. So these are the parts of the city that are because of their tied, their being is tied to the city, right? First, then sustenance must be available, right? So therefore, this is the things, right? Sustenance. Next, art. For living requires many instruments. Third, arms. Arms are the means of defense and doing things, right? For those who are sharers must necessarily also have arms among themselves, both with a view of to ruling in case of those who disobey, and with those to outsiders who attempt to do them injustice. So one is sustenance, two the arts, three the arms. Further, a steady supply of funds, resources, right? That's the fourth. So that they may have what suffices with both a view to their needs among themselves and to military needs. Fifth and first, okay, this is interesting. Fifth one and first, the superintendence according to the divine, which they call priestcraft. So the fifth is a priestcraft, right? The fifth and first. It's interesting that it's also first. Priest, the divine, right? Again, particularly this city is one. Remember that this city is the city of what we would pray for, right? So that's why maybe that's why it's first also, right? Because sixth in number and most necessary were decisions concerning the advantageous and the just relation to one another. So therefore, this is the six deals with the most necessary things, decisions concerning the advantageous and the just, right? These then are the tasks that virtually every city needs. So we have six in number. These are the things that every city must have in number. Six. These okay. These then are the tasks that virtually every city needs. For the city is not any chance multitude, so not random, right? But one self-sufficient, autocratus, right, with a view towards life, that they share a life together. Again, depending what the city is, right? It's not a chance multitude. That's random. It's not random. It is that it is a group of people who have one self-sufficient, but one self-sufficient group, koinonia, with a view towards life, as we asserted. And if any of these things happen to be omitted, it is impossible for the community to be simply self-sufficient. So these six things are what allows the city to be self-sufficient. A city must necessarily be constituted, therefore, on the basis of these tasks. Accordingly, there must be because of that, there must be a multitude of farmers who will provide sustenance, artisans, a fighting element, a well-off element, the wealthy, like those priests, and those who decide regarding the things just and advantageous. Now, this is 41, accepting crowd conjuncture dacon and just in place of in place of annotated the manuscript necessity. Now, I'm going to suggest that maybe we should read it back. We can go back to the minute. Let's switch this. In other words, let's go to back to the manuscript and say, um, um, necessary and advantageous. If we go with what the text says, right, we should stick with necessary and advantageous. What is necessary and advantageous, not just. I think I think we should not go with just. I disagree with Lord here. I think maybe we should stay with the manuscript for a second. I think there's two possibilities here. Just is about the question of advantageous and just. That's up there, right? But here he says what is necessary and advantageous. In other words, to decide among things that are necessary for the city. I think this is the point he's trying to hit here. That those decide regarding what is necessary, and they, that does involve justice here, but it's not. What is the question is necessary, essential to it, or just. These are two different possibilities because of different manuscripts. Um, Again, what we have here is Aristotle giving us what is necessary, the tasks, the things that are essential to be able to do the city. These tasks are not outside. Doesn't exist. They don't. They exist only to produce the city. Okay, they're parts of the city, and the city doesn't. If the city does not have these, it cannot be right. Um, and I think this is the political community in that sense is. Even though that these things they can be external to it sometimes, some things, but the artisans and these things are out, but they need them in that sense. Um, they allow them. It's again, this is it allows them to be self sufficient, right? And this community. So we'll stop here. We look at these principles. This is a very short thing in that sense. If you have any comments, please put the comments in. If you have any questions or comments, I think this is a very thoughtful point here. He says, these are tasks that every city needs. For the city is not any chance multitude, right? But one self-sufficient with a view to the life together. Now, if you don't have, if any of these things are omitted, it's impossible for a community to be simply self-sufficient. So these things are the things that make the city self-sufficient. These six things. And then he gives accordingly what must be multitude of farmers who provide sustenance, artisans who give art skills and the things, fighting element, the well-off priests, and those who decision makers, this class of the just and advantageous, right, or the necessary and advantageous. So again, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, or things that you want about this section, chapter, or issues that like to maybe go further, need to address further, I'll respond to it when I see them. If you've liked the video, like it, please like it, and share it with friends, share it on social media. If you didn't like it, okay, don't like it. But if you liked it, maybe you want to, if you have not subscribed already, subscribe. Encourage friends to subscribe. Um, I like to grow the channel. Those of you who want to help, I know maybe you can do this. Patreon and Subscribe Star. Oh, but you don't do anything with them, and there's not many. Again, I hate begging. This is not begging, but it feels like that way, right? Because it would be nice to have some help in this. I do these things. Maybe I release this. Maybe no one cares. One way you can help is to buy my book. This is I have other books that I've read in there. You can buy them also, but this is the recent one, 2022, fall. I was hoping students would buy it, but apparently no one is paying attention to it. This is a very useful thing. This is a notebook on Aristotle's politics. It's not a commentary. It is like Cliff Notes. It is not mere summaries. It goes book by book, chapter by chapter. It offers some summarization to understand the passage with outlines, graphs, charts, and tools to try to get a better handle of this. Sometimes raising systemic questions that the text raises, or maybe points to art debates within the history of political thought that may be useful to a student at any level, even from a beginning student to a more advanced student of those studying the politics text would find this useful. Again, you can buy it through Amazon, Barnes and Noble, any place like that. But if you buy it directly through Lulu, I will get the profit from that the bookstores get. So please think about Lulu. Yes, I understand that Lulu may charge you for shipping, and where Amazon and those places might not. But okay, great. So please buy it anyway. Buy it for a friend, buy it for a colleague, buy it for a student who's going to be studying politics. Um, every little bit helps. Okay, well that's it. We will turn next time we meet, chapter 9 of book 7. Um, with that, again, I hope you have a good day. Bye bye. Take be well. See you. See you again soon.